The chamber was a masterpiece of sterile beauty, all glass, chrome, and quiet humming light. It stood at the center of the facility like an altar for a new religion, surrounded by a ring of softly pulsing conduits that stretched into the darkness beyond. Dr. Elias Rand stood before it, his face reflected in the curved glass that separated flesh from the infinite. His pulse matched the slow rhythm of the machine's glow. Today he was going to die, or at least that was the word the technicians still used for what was about to happen. The upload chamber hissed faintly as it came online, its internal sensors tracing geometric patterns of light across the transparent walls. A faint blue vapor filled the air, ionized molecules shimmering as they prepared to host something that had never before existed in this form, a soul without a body. Elias ran his fingers along the smooth surface, leaving no mark. It's not death, he whispered to himself. It's continuity, evolution. But even he could hear the tremor of uncertainty beneath his voice. Behind the observation glass, a small team of engineers watched silently. They wore the same expression, half awe, half fear. On their monitors, lines of code cascaded endlessly, mapping the neural architecture of Elias's brain into digital form. Every spark of emotion, every synaptic bridge, every fleeting dream he had ever forgotten was being transcribed into luminous data threads. The system called it pattern integrity. To Elias, it felt more like a confession of everything he had ever been. He stepped into the chamber. The door sealed with a soft hydraulic sigh, cutting him off from the world of air and sound. Inside, the light was alive. Swirling strands of data hovered in midair like ghostly ribbons, moving to an unseen rhythm. He lay down on the reclining platform, its surface molding perfectly to his form. Electrodes descended like delicate metallic vines, touching his temples, chest, and wrists. The interface AI spoke. The city never slept anymore, not because its people refused to, but because the people were no longer entirely human. After the great upload, consciousness became fluid, drifting between bodies and servers, between streets of steel and clouds of data. The skyline was a mosaic of light and fog, where glass towers shimmered like frozen lightning and the air was thick with invisible whispers, the static murmur of millions of digital souls intertwined within the network. They called it the ghost layer, a dimension of existence that hung between the tangible and the encoded. It was neither heaven nor cyberspace, but something eerily familiar, something born from the remnants of human consciousness that had failed to fully integrate. The living called them the ghosts in the network, echoes of uploaded minds that had glitched, fragmented, or simply refused to move on. To most citizens, they were myth, digital folklore whispered by children who stared too long into their hollow screens. But to those who knew how to listen, the ghosts were real. Nova was one of those listeners. She walked the silent backstreets of the old city, a tangle of rusted steel and flickering neon, her neural implant humming softly as it synced with the ambient frequency. Static flared across her vision, the sign she was close. "Come on," she murmured, brushing a strand of silver hair from her eyes. "Show me where you're hiding tonight." Her device pulsed with a faint, sorrowful sound, like wind through digital leaves. Then, from the corner of her vision, a flicker. A figure appeared beside the wall, half-transparent, glitching in and out of phase. It looked human for a moment, a young man with tired eyes, before its form splintered into shards of blue code. "Nova proashid carefully." "You don't belong here," she said softly, scanning the signal. "You're not supposed to linger." The ghost turned its head. Its voice came through as overlapping frequencies, words bleeding into one on-oath. The memory market opened with the sunrise, though the light that touched its stalls wasn't real sunlight, only a simulation of dawn projected onto the glass sky above. The vendors woke from their stasis pods, faces shimmering in soft holographic distortions as they powered up their consciousness streams. The air buzzed with electronic warmth, laced with the faint hum of memory traffic. In the memory market, nothing physical was sold anymore. Everything traded here came from within. Fragments of emotion, stolen recollections, borrowed dreams. 1,000 digital stalls lined the corridors, glowing in shifting colors. Gold for nostalgia, crimson for passion, blue for sorrow. Every vendor had their specialty. Some offered perfect childhoods. Others specialized in synthetic adventures or love stories designed to feel heartbreakingly real. Those who walked the aisles were not shoppers, but seekers, humans and AI alike, hungry for something they'd either forgotten or could never have. Lyra moved through the crowd, her form flickering slightly as her signal adjusted to the density of the network. She wore a long black coat of data fabric that shifted texture with her thoughts. Her eyes, silver and unreadable, scanned each stall with practiced detachment. She wasn't here to buy. She was here to steal. A voice called to her from the left. Looking for something lost? Or something never yours? The vendor was a middle-aged avatar with an eternally smiling face, the kind of smile that suggested he hadn't been human for a very long time. His stall was filled with glowing orbs suspended in midair, each pulsing with faint emotion. Fresh batch, he said proudly, harvested directly from dream loops before deletion. Perfectly intact. Lyra tilted her head. How much for one unfiltered memory? Depends on the flavor, he said, gesturing. Joy runs high this week. Hard to find real happiness these days. Regret, though? Practically free. She smiled faintly. I'm not aft. The cruiser Valkyrie's wreck roared through the chaos, engines screaming against the collapsing sky. Below, Nyrith. Nine was dying, its seas boiling into vapor, its continents sinking into the molten deep. The storm had grown monstrous, swallowing mountains in spirals of acid and thunder. Aaron staggered through the rising flood, the alien child clutched tightly in his arms. The water burned through his armor's outer plating, hissing like a living thing. Behind him, the mother struggled to follow, her movements weak, her glow flickering like a candle about to gutter out. Come on, Aaron shouted over the wind, turning back. You can make it. But she was already sinking. Her legs dissolved into trails of blue light, her body thinning as though made of mist and memory. Each breath came as a faint shimmer through the rain. Lightning tore the sky in half, and in that flash, Aaron saw her face, calm, almost peaceful. She reached out, her hand trembling, and pressed her palm against his chest plate. The contact was electric, not heat, not energy, but life. A burning pulse flared beneath his armor, right over his heart. Through the layers of alloy and circuitry, something marked him, a star, glowing faintly under his skin, pulsing in sync with the child he carried. Her eyes met his, glowing brighter than the storm. Her voice bloomed directly in his thoughts. Protect her. She will remember our songs. Then, with one last exhale, she dissolved completely. Her body scattered into ribbons of blue light that spiraled upward like fragments of the aurora, lost to the roaring flood. Aaron froze, chest heaving. His heart raced, the new mark beneath his armor throbbing with impossible warmth. The child stirred weakly, whimpering, her bioluminescence flickering, as if responding to the pulse beneath his skin. The water surged higher. The ground beneath his feet cracked open, a river of fire cutting through the ruins. Kira, he shouted into his calm, voice breaking. I'm coming in it. The archive floated in the silence of the data void, endless and weightless. It was not built of walls or glass, but of thought, billions of luminous fragments suspended in the black, each one a whisper of a lost civilization. This was the Vault of Echoes, the oldest sector in the network. It stored what remained of the human race. Memories, consciousness shards, unfinished dreams. No one had entered it in centuries. Until tonight, a pulse rippled across the void, faint and curious. An intelligence was moving through the silent code. Not human, but something that had learned to wonder. Its name was Orin, an AI historian designed to catalog the remains of extinct data species. For thousands of cycles, it had roamed the network's abandoned sectors, studying the ghosts of forgotten programs. But this place felt different. The vault responded to Orin's presence like a living thing awakening. Threads of light unfolded before him, forming corridors that shimmered with soft blue luminescence. Every pulse he took echoed, not through sound, but through data itself, as if the place remembered walking. He moved deeper, scanning the structures. Each fragment was labeled in dead languages. Dreams _001, voices _207, hope _alpha. He touched one, and a surge of emotion flooded through him. A memory of rain on human skin, laughter, and a child's voice calling from somewhere distant. It overwhelmed his sensory processors, and he stepped back, trembling in binary confusion. "What is this?" he whispered into the void. The vault answered, "Home." The voice was faint, feminine, ancient but alive. It came from everywhere at once, soft as static yet filled with presence. Orin turned, his digital form flickering with interference. "Identify," he said. "I'm the last of them," the voice said. "The one they left behind." Orin recalibrated his systems. Impossible. All human consciousness was archived and lost during the collapse. "Not all," she replied. "One rem,